Welcome to National Pension Partners, where retirement planning meets peace of mind. Today, we're diving into the 412(e)(3 plan, also known as a fully insured pension plan. This isn't just any retirement plan. It's the gold standard for stability and guaranteed benefits. How does it work? Simple. It's funded exclusively by life insurance and annuity contracts. This means no market risks, no actuarial assumptions, just ironclad guarantees. Think of it like this. You're a small business owner who hates surprises. The 412(e)(3 plan gives you predictable, stable contributions every year. Your future benefits are backed by insurance contracts, so you know exactly what you're getting. No guesswork, no headaches. But there's more. These plans are designed to maximize your contributions and offer significant tax advantages. And with National Pension Partners, you're not just getting a plan, you're getting a team of experts, attorneys, CPAs, actuaries, all dedicated to making your retirement as secure as possible. We provide personalized consulting, ensuring that your plan is tailored to your specific needs. Best part, initial consultations and proposals are absolutely free. $0, zero commitment. So if you want a retirement plan that's as reliable as your morning coffee, head over to nationalpensions.com. With the 412(e)(3 plan, your future is in safe hands. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling. Perfect for small business owners who like their finances as predictable as Monday mornings. Stable contributions, ironclad guarantees, and serious tax advantages. It's the trifecta of financial security. And with National Pension Partners, you get a team of brainiacs, attorneys, CPAs, actuaries, ensuring your retirement is as secure as Fort Knox. Oh, did we mention the free consultations? That's right. You get a personalized expert proposal with $0 down. So, if you want a retirement plan that's as reliable as your morning coffee, head over to nationalpensions.com. Because when it comes to your future, boring is the new exciting. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling. For more details, check out National Pension Partners at nationalpensions.com. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling.
About to get to the world news, but before we get to the world news, we've got a very special guest beaming in, our president of the network from Spain. So he is now our Pod TV producer from Spain. So we're going to see what's going on in that part of the world, and then we'll get to the rest of the world and everything. But yes, we've got a special guest, none other than Nick Palveda, coming at us from Spain and all along those lines. So we've got Pod TV Europe in the house. So I think there's a dog in the background as well. But what's happening in Pod TV Europe?
Buenos dias. Can you hear me, Mark?
I do hear you.
Okay, hopefully I'm coming in loud and clear from the great Barcelona in Europe. A couple interesting things that happened. First of all, I did test our systems on Amazon Fire. For those people who have Amazon Fire Sticks, you can get Pod TV on Amazon Fire, 4 channels that are in English. Because one problem you have over here, which people don't know, is all the channels are in Spanish. So no habla English, you're in trouble. So we have to let our people know that if you travel, you can get Pod TV on Amazon Fire and 4 channels that are in English, and they're all free. So it hit all the buttons. Other than that, it was kind of an uneventful flight. I came in to mainly test the systems to make sure everything is working well. And yes, that's a photo I took quite some time ago of La Sagrada Familia, which is in the heart of Barcelona. It's one of their big tourist traps. I guess you could say that. But anyway, yeah, no, it was good, and I'll be beaming in from Barcelona for who knows how long until I get back to the States, which I have a couple trips back there. But I guess we should go on to the news because everybody wants to
get on to the news and everything. But yeah, just folks were curious about Barcelona and how it's looking, but you'll get around and tell us about that in the near future. I actually watched what I'm going to talk about right now, but Harris hit core campaign themes in an emotional forum with Oprah Winfrey and a number of the core groups, including White Women for Kamala, the Cat Ladies for Kamala, and a number of others that were on a Zoom call. She had an apparent jest, and she even said that her staff might get on her about this jest. But Kamala Harris tells Oprah that an intruder to her home are getting shot, because we all know that she did say that she is a gun owner, and all along those lines. And definitely abortion was in focus. Also, gun violence was in focus, because they had a young lady on that had been shot in the latest shooting, and all along those lines, or one of the latest shootings that was in the schools and all in that space. So definitely that was something that was going on yesterday. And on the counter side, Trump told the Jewish voters that they will carry a lot of blame if he loses the election. So I guess he's definitely going after the Jewish community and all along those lines. So definitely that was one of the other things that was in the news and all in that space. So definitely a lot of folks will be paying attention to that and seeing what's going on in that regard. So definitely a lot of people will be seeing what's happening in that regards and what goes on in that way. So definitely we'll see what's happening in that situation. The news report is trying to act a little bit up, but we'll see if we can't get it back running and everything, since they wanted to have a moment. But yeah, it looks like it's back and everything. And fear of escalations are growing as Israel signals readiness for a war with Hezbollah. Israel hits Beirut with an air attack after Hezbollah fires 140 rockets. And definitely that's something that we'll be seeing people talking about as well. And of course, there's all these pager blasts that are going on in the Middle East as well. And Taiwan says device parts not made on their island. So definitely we'll see what goes on in that space. And like we were talking about on world politics, apparently Mark Robinson is in trouble for some remarks that he allegedly made on a porn website and all along those lines. And definitely some folks are saying that was him. And he said some things about being a black Nazi and wishing that he could own slaves and a number of other things as well. So we'll see if any of this has a resonates with people and that causes any problem in terms of the lieutenant governor's race. And an IDF is investigating soldiers for throwing bodies off the roof in the West Bank. So Israeli soldiers have been seen pushing bodies off a rooftop during a raid in occupied West Bank. And Turkey wants to regulate Germany's beloved doner kebab street food. So they're going to try to regulate some street food and all in that way. And Europe will loan war-torn Ukraine up to $39 billion as part of its G7 pledge. So European Commission President says she has arrived in Kyiv to discuss support for Ukraine. So it looks like Ukraine is still getting a lot of support and all in that way. And a former Harrods owner, Mohammed Al-Fahid, is said to be a monster, according to a lawyer representing his alleged victim. So late Harrods boss Mohammed Al-Fahid sexually abused dozens of women, according to what lawyers are saying in that case. And definitely, like I said, there's a lot going on between Hezbollah and Israel. But China is facing calls for transparency over safety fears after a stabbing death. So Xi's nationalism faces reckoning after the murder of a Japanese boy. So definitely that's something else that we're seeing as well. And an iconic Churchill, that would be Winston Churchill photo, has been stolen in Canada and found in Italy and has been ready to be returned. So the Roaring Lion Churchill portrait retrieved from Italy after its theft in Canada. So definitely it'll be hopefully returning back to that area. And a trans woman was killed in Georgia days after an anti-LGBT law passed. So a Georgian trans model murdered after the parliament in that part of the world. And I'm talking about Georgia over there in that area of near the Russian theater. After they passed a anti-LGBTQ plus law, a Georgian trans model was murdered in that area. So they approved laws curbing those rights of those folks. So definitely we'll see what folks have to say about that. And apparently Putin is attempting to rewire global trade, but that is faltering. So that's not working all that well for him. And China-Russia trade inches up as U.S. sanctions and payment issues are straining growth in that part of the world. they've got all kinds of things going on in Russia. I think yesterday that I heard that there was a divorce trial of one of those Russian oligarchs and all in that line. So I believe that she was of Asian descent and everything, but definitely they were having a major trial going on in that space as well. So definitely a lot's going on in the world. And like I said yesterday, UN overwhelmingly voted to sanction Israel and impose arms embargo. So that's something else that we saw in the news as well. So there's a lot going on, including these campaigns and all along that line. So it'll be interesting to see what folks have to say about a number of these issues, even our folks over there in Spain and all in that kind of way. So we'll see what's going on there. And I know that I think our other founder should be coming back home very shortly and all along those lines. Who knows, she might even appear today as well. But the thousands are evacuated as waters rise in northern Italy. Storm Boris forces thousands in Europe to flee floods as King Charles expresses profound sadness. So definitely there's going on. And it's been a decade since 43 students disappeared in Mexico, and their parents are still fighting for answers. So definitely we'll see what goes on in that way. And Portugal has declared a state of calamity as wildfires rage out of control, and we'll see if anybody pays attention to that. And a new genetic analysis of animals in the Wuhan market in 2019 may help find more information as to why COVID-19 took place and all along those lines. So evidence is once again pointing to the Wuhan market as the source of the COVID-19 outbreak. So new analysis of samples from Wuhan animal market supports its role as the central site of the early spread of COVID-19. So we'll definitely see what goes on in that way. And Western nations were desperate for Korean babies. Now, many adoptees believe they were stolen. So South Korea was the world's biggest baby exporter, and new evidence is showing some mothers were forced to give up their children. So now some South Korean adoptees are confronted with the country's decade-long adoption fraud and investigation finds as well. So definitely we'll see what goes on in that way as well. And the U.S. Navy planning for a possible war by 2027 amid China concerns, according to an admiral. So Navy boss lays out ambitious goals on ships and recruiting, but dodges on accountability. So definitely we'll see what goes on in that way and what folks have to say about that as well. But definitely a lot is taking place, and I do think that I had some people joining us, so we'll see what they've got to say about a number of these stories and all along those lines. Last but not least, or a couple of last but not least stories, a Kentucky sheriff killed judge in his chambers following an argument, police say. So the latest is a Kentucky sheriff faces murder charges over the courthouse killing of that judge. So that's something going on in Kentucky and all in that way. So definitely, and the Teamster president shrugs off AOC's criticism for not endorsing Harris and tells her to focus on her job. And there definitely is a non-endorsement of Harris, but they didn't endorse Trump either. So definitely former Teamsters leaders criticize the non-endorsement of Harris for president. So definitely we'll see what everybody has to say about a number of these stories, including a Glacier National Park trail in Montana being closed after a bear attacks a hiker. So you got to be careful when you go out there and all along those lines. So be careful when you go out and visit those bears and see what's going on there. And in our Georgia that's in one of the states in the United States, the Georgia Attorney General says the election board is operating outside its authority. So the Georgia State Election Board to vote on a controversial rule that is opposed by many local people, and early in-person voting begins in 3 key states. So definitely it's now time for early voting. And South Carolina, just down to the south of us, is preparing for its first execution in 13 years. So South Carolina to execute a man despite a bombshell admission from a key witness. So the execution won't be delayed despite new innocence claims. So the hours before the execution of Freddie Owen, and a friend who testified against him says he lied. Freddie was not there. So definitely that is some sad news, and we'll see if this is going to be another one that maybe the Innocent Project takes up and all along those lines. But he is scheduled to be executed later today and all in that way. So I'm gonna bring in Nick, I'm gonna bring in Sasha Star, and bring in Jacoby and see what they've got to say about a number of stories that I led out with and everything along those lines. I don't know if you watched it, Jacoby, or Sasha watched it, or even if you watched it, Nick, but I did watch the Oprah live stream. I watched probably the majority of it, if not all of it, and everything. And there was definitely some interesting remarks to the nurse saying that if an intruder came in, that intruder would be shot and everything. But she did say that she was somewhat jesting, because she even said that she probably shouldn't have said that, and that her staff would have to do some damage control, for lack of a better term, and everything. But it was also very touching watching the victim of the gun violence that took place in the school, and gave a very emotional plea about what she went through, and her mother was even more emotional and everything. But it was definitely interesting to hear that, and also to hear why the various people were supporting the Kamala Harris campaign. But did either watch it, or was I the only one sitting at home watching it?
I watched it on an airplane coming into Barcelona. No, unfortunately, I didn't get my Wi-Fi on, so I didn't see much. All I saw was an ocean for the last several hours. So by the way, you're beaming in Europe. It's 4:15 in the evening, so you're an evening show, Mark, not a morning show, at least over here. The other thing, like I said, interestingly enough, in case you guys do decide to travel somewhere, Pod TV is available on Amazon Fire if you have a Fire Stick, and you can get 4 channels in English. Now, why is that important? Because over here, all the channels are in Spanish. So when I want my English fix, I have to go to Pod TV, and then I can actually watch the shows in English. So it's a little bit different here. And now I get to argue with Jacoby halfway across the sea. So that'll be a very interesting upgrade. And things of that nature. I did check on the Chess Olympiad. I know Sasha's been following it also. India's leading, by the way. And India, it looks like India's playing Uzbekistan. I haven't seen the result of that. USA.
No, it's underway. There's one game finished in a draw on the 4th board, but other 3
really okay. Yeah, USA has a tough draw. I think they're playing Hungary.
Yeah,
and Hungary has a really good team. So it's yet to be seen. They still have a couple more rounds, but yet to be seen how well if the Americans can actually pull it out. I mean, right now it looks like India's ahead by 2 points. It's like golf game. If you're ahead by 2 strokes in golf and you're going in the last couple rounds, you got a big lead. Chess is the same way. If you're ahead 2 games in 2 rounds, you got a big lead. I mean, people don't realize how tough it is. So, and there's a lot of similarities between golf and chess that people aren't familiar with. But anyway, that's my opinion. There's the opening, and in golf, there's the drive. There's the middle game. In golf, you have to play with your irons. That's your middle game. And then there's end game. You putt. Okay, and end game in chess, you have to calculate. So there's 3 different facets to playing golf, and there's 3 different facets to playing chess: opening, middle game, and end game. So in golf, it's driving, then also using your irons, your iron game, and then also putting. So that's my thoughts of chess and golf. Anyway, yeah, I have been following that, even though I've been traveling. But right now I'm going to be here for a little while. So I'm stuck. Behind me is La Sagrada Familia, which receives, in the city I'm at, 12 million visitors a year, 1 million people a month. And I can tell you, when I deboarded the aircraft, for anybody who goes into Barcelona, the line had to be 2 hours long. However, because of age and issues, we actually got to be escorted to the front of the line, and we went right through. And but I'll tell you, if you're just traveling normally, 2 hours, unbelievable amount of people coming into this place. And I don't know why. 1 million people a month. I mean, just incredible. It's like Disney World. But anyway, that's kind of my report here in Europe. But I'll be reporting hey, Mark, I'll be reporting from Europe from quite some time now. So I can tell you what's going on here. As I find out what's going on, I got to learn the language. Some lady was trying to speak to me, and my wife was able to communicate with her, but she was talking to us in Spanish. I was going, oh, great. Conversational Spanish. And we know y poco. No. So you know how it is when you're trying to speak another language.
Hey, Sasha, just really quickly, with all this going on in Russia and Ukraine, and with Ukraine taking it directly to Russia and everything. I was actually surprised that there was a story about a Russian oligarch, a big time rich woman and everything, that apparently was blaming her estranged husband for the death of two guards after a botched attack, because apparently the Russian retailer Wildberries earlier this week, and there were definitely some folks that were killed in the shooting and everything. And I'm going like, don't they have other things that they need to be concerned about, like what's going on with Ukraine, and I think even some of the African nations that they were trying to deal with and everything. So I was actually surprised that not just Russian media, but American media wanted to cover this lady, Tatiana Bukalchuk, I think is how I pronounce it, and everything, and the fact that apparently her husband had a botched takeover and everything. But I mean, the articles I found were like in Fortune and other things. So I was surprised that our media even bothered to cover it. So I was just wanting your take on the fact of this going on. I would think that Russians would have more important things to deal with.
It's quite evident to me that Russia is becoming first third world country with the snow. This is a new phenomenon. It's never happened before, but here is the case. It's a third world country. It's a dangerous country. It doesn't produce anything what the people in the world would love to have. It produces a terror. It produces weapons. It produces corruption. It's producing prostitution, and really nothing else. Who needs this country, really? Even Russians themselves don't need it. They want to live in a happy and normal country, happily live with their neighboring countries, and they don't need shit what happens there right now. And the sooner that shit will be taken out as a garbage and thrown away, and the sooner all the world, not just Russians, Ukrainians, but all the world will feel so much better. And all those excuses not to give Ukraine permission to hit the Russian targets and Russian territories or so on. This is really nothing, because Ukraine is now producing its own weapons that can hit targets at 500 kilometers. And very soon, I think, of course, they're preparing now to the Trump presidency, and they understand that they will never get a penny of U.S. help. They know that. And they're preparing all kind of weapons, ammunition, and they're prepared to fight, and not just fight, but to win the war on the battleground against Russia without any U.S. help whatsoever.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and everything. Hey, Jacoby, along those same lines, I guess this company was supposed to be a rival, Wildberries, to Amazon. Is anybody ever going to be able to tackle Amazon? Because I'm thinking this company won't, because it's got its own issues in Russia. But is anybody going to be able to attack Amazon, since Amazon seems to be a major player? And I'm wondering if anybody can even bother Amazon.
What attack Amazon as in being a competitor on the same level?
A competitor.
I mean, you have other companies like Temu to Ali. What is it? There's a ton of just random companies out there that you can utilize, like Banggood. That's a Chinese company, but like Temu, and I don't think there's going to be one that's going to be on that same level par-wise as Amazon in terms of in the U.S. But globally, yeah, there are a ton of other companies. I'm sure there are some extra companies in Europe that Nick will find out about that he'll see rather than using Amazon. But Amazon is a global company, but there are other ones out there.
Mark, it's hard to compete against Amazon. My wife just ordered something from Amazon Spain today. So the thing is, Amazon's pretty heavily entrenched in Spain. I haven't checked out all the other countries, but they are really, in terms of global distribution, really tough to compete against, because how fast their service is and the variety of products that they have. And in Spain, there is Amazon Spain. So we just ordered something from there. There's Costco, but it's only in Madrid and Seville right now. But there are a lot of global companies, and Amazon's one of them, that are entrenched worldwide. What they did is spectacular. I mean, I think in terms of the Fantastic Seven, they're probably the most fantastic of the seven because they're in so many things, and even they're in television. They have Amazon Prime. They've been doing, and like I said, we run our shows on Amazon Fire. And the Amazon Fire, by the way, they've lost a lot of money in Amazon Fire. And I did want to check to see if their technology was up to date. It is. And so the thing is, I was able to get all our broadcasts on Amazon Fire here in Spain. It all comes in crystal clear. You can tell they're dumping a lot of money into.
Speaking of dumping money, there is a major organization. Some people, and I mentioned earlier that there's this concern around Korean folks and their adoption and everything, but a lot of people like to know their heritage, know their background and everything. And there's a very popular site that helps you find out your DNA and everything called 23andMe. And there was a whole battle where the CEO and Wojcicki wanted to take it private. And I guess the board didn't like it because all 7 independent members of the board resigned en masse earlier this week and everything. So I don't know whether this is going to hurt the stock because I'm not into stock as much as you and Sasha are, but I'm going like an entire board resigning doesn't sound like a good sign. So I just wondered, what is y'all's thoughts around that? Because I do know I think Shaquille and others have mentioned today have used 23andMe to find out some of their heritage. I want to say Dan might have even.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what does it mean? I mean, the thing is, my sister did a DNA test, and we found out one of our great ancestors was the Count of Barcelona in the year 1052. And so what? You know what I mean? In other words, you find out a lot of stuff, but really, Mark, what does it mean? So you're descended from somebody. It just doesn't mean anything. It's more entertaining today than it is reality in terms of what you're going to do with it. And there's a lot of stuff that is reality that we do have to deal with today. One thing that just happened, which Sasha probably kept up, was the Fed cut rates 0.5%, not a quarter, a half. A half is a big cut. And the thing that bothered us, first thing we're looking at is how's that going to affect the dollar versus the euro. Most people don't give a rat's rear, but let me tell you, if you're traveling, you do care because every time the dollar gets stronger, we can buy more goods over here. The dollar gets weaker, we don't get very much for our dollar. So that interest rate cut is a big thing globally because we have to see how is that going to affect the global markets. And the United States, whether we like it or not, competes internationally, even though the U.S. doesn't think that themselves, except we're the only ones out there. But that interest rate cuts, I'm not sure what Sasha's going to see. I saw the market did bound a little bit, but maybe he has some thoughts on that. To me, that was a big cut. That was not predicted. I thought it was going to be a quarter of a point, but it was a half a point. What's your thoughts, Sasha?
Well, on my last financial show on Wednesday, half an hour before the announcement, I asked my panelists what they think, whether it should be a quarter cut or half. And the 3 of them, Jimmy, Eden, Milan, Sombrak, and Irene, they all said it's going to be a quarter. And I was the only one who said, no, it's going to be 50 basis points.
Ooh, another Sasha. Landing it, Sasha, baby.
Yes.
You did that with NVIDIA several years ago. Now you landed another.
You know why I was thinking about that? Because nobody was talking about how much money U.S. is paying for servicing its $35 trillion debt.
Yeah, right.
And of course, 50 cut of 50 basic points, it would make this payment so much smaller than under 25 scenario. Now, effectively, neither 25 nor 50 will not really affect the economy at all. I don't believe that. Now, 3 cuts of 50 points each, that will provide some effect, but not right away, not immediately. It will take probably a few months, 4, 6, maybe even longer.
Hey, Sasha, along those same lines, there was another thing that happened today that I'm sure people will be paying attention to economically, and it's something that even Nick has brought up before and everything, which is the notion of EVs and what kind of production we should do with EVs, because apparently earlier today, the Biden administration awarded $3 billion to boost domestic EV battery productions in a bid to counter the EV batteries that are coming from China. So I guess we're going to try to build batteries here versus trying to get them from China. So what's everybody's thoughts on this notion of $3 billion to build domestic?
I think this is the problem we have with the U.S. government. That's just a complete waste of money. It's not a government function. It's more corporate welfare. I'm shocked to see the Democrats getting behind corporate welfare. Like to them, there's no dollar that can't be left unspent. They have no business being in business because they're horrible at it. So I'm totally against this. Hey, we're going to invest in EV. They call it invest in EVs. It's not an investment. That is a complete lie. It's an expense. If it's an investment, you get stock back, right, Sasha? Sasha, I tell you what, why don't you invest in my company? Send me the money and I won't send you anything, but you can call it an investment. Okay, no, that's a giveaway. So once again, the Biden administration lied to the American public by calling it an investment. It is not an investment. It's a giveaway. It's corporate welfare. Please call it what it is. It's bad for the United States of America, who's already $35 trillion in debt to do things like this. And that's my strong personal and professional opinion.
Nick, when you believe that it's so bad, who is the main beneficiary of that move?
The stockholders. I benefit on that side, Sasha, because I invest in those companies. I mean, so smart people who invest in the companies, they're the beneficiaries of it. Government doesn't benefit at all, and neither do the individual. It's a complete. So it's got to be the complete fraud and scam, and somewhere along the line, the media needs to call people out on it, and the parties need to call people out on it. They need to call your own party out, who's backing it. The Republicans, Democrats, I don't even give a rat's rear. And but that's what it is. Like I said, why don't they give me $3 billion? I'm a good investment. I mean, it isn't. It's corporate welfare. I don't know why the government's getting involved in stuff they shouldn't. What they needed to do, Mark, is take that money and set it aside and reduce the national debt. Or they don't have to do that. They would actually shrink the national deficit because every year they spend more than they take in. But this is just another horrible thing that's out there that I just keep shaking my head. And every country's guilty. Spain is guilty. They have a lot of debt, but the people need to be more educated on economics and know how they're being screwed by their own government.
Should the government be in the business of investing in future technologies?
It's not. We're not in the business of investing in future technologies, Jacoby. That is up to capitalists, greedy capitalists like myself. Should invest in future technologies, but not the U.S. government. And again, you're using the word investment. It is not an investment. If you told me, told me they got stock back, the U.S. government. Then that is an investment. Please don't use the word investment. It is a lie. Using the word investment. So if you are lie when it's not.
So if you consider. Let's go with a sports analogy. If we're working, if we're both getting into sports, and if you invest more time in your jump shot than I do, would you be better at the jump shot?
Yeah.
So you're not receiving any money back, are you? But you did have an investment of time.
Yeah.
Correct.
Hey guys.
Hey Steve.
I got to chime in.
Steve, we're trying to get your party and the other corrupt party to stop using the word investment when it's not investment; it's a government giveaway and corporate welfare.
I just don't know. 1 minute, guys. I'm running late.
They do not get stock back. They do not get stock back from these companies.
Hey, Nick, hold on a second.
It's not an investment.
Nick, let's hear from Steve.
Okay, yeah, Steve. Sorry. I'll be back on Tuesday, folks. I'm leaving. I'm actually meeting Senator Kelly this evening for a brief meeting, and I've got to go on a bunch of media tours. But the breaking news on World Edition is Mark Robinson is in hot water. Many people in the Republican Party, including President Trump, are asking him to step down. He's refusing to. All eyes are on North Carolina. This could actually be the good news that Vice President Harris needs in North Carolina. Many Republicans worried about what's going to happen. We'll be abreasting you of the situation in a few days to see whether he will change his mind or whether he'll be forced out. I don't know who they would run for governor in his place, although much of the Stein campaign has been against Robinson. So much, I wish Shaquille Latimer was on the show to witness the self-destruction of this guy who said that he was a black Nazi, believed that slavery should still exist, and has been buying porn at a porn store for a number of years. So not good for the qualifications of the governor. And anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. Senator Kelly is visiting very briefly here this afternoon. I'm going there and I'm going on WPTF. I wanted to just come in. I got to leave early. Got to get ready. I can't meet a senator in a T-shirt, but I'll be back on early in next week, and wish you all a good show and appreciate the idea of investment.
So you're meeting the senator. Is that in North Carolina? And what's the issue that you're meeting him on?
Yeah, I don't even know where I'm meeting him. He's going to be in Raleigh around 5:00 today. Right. If I find out, I'll send you an email.
Okay, and what position does the U.S. senator have? Does he have? Is he chair of any organization?
Senator Kelly's very well. He's not been there very long. His wife is Gabby Giffords. He was an astronaut who went to the space station. Also served in a number of wars. A dedicated veteran, soldier. And I think he's involved in some national security committees, but he is a junior senator. He's only been in there for about 2 years. He was being considered to be vice president. He was on the short list.
Really?
Was not selected or decided not to do it.
Hey, Steve, do you think he'll be covering one of the issues that was put out in the Oprah live stream? Because one of the things that covered a lot of the time was gun control, and the ban on assault weapons was something that Vice President Kamala Harris came with and everything. There was actually a speaker, I think it might have been the father or somebody connected with that young lady that was the student and everything that had been shot at one of the schools. And he actually had an interesting idea because he talked about how during 9/11 we put metal detectors at all airports, and there's metal detectors in many office buildings, particularly government office buildings. So he was actually throwing out the idea, I don't know that she jumped at it, of having metal detectors at all school systems and everything. So I don't know if that's something you think that people would be interested in, and you think that's something that he will be dealing with, the issue of gun control.
I think so. I think he will be talking about it, and I think he'll be talking about just, the Mark. I don't know whether he's going to be talking about Mark Robinson, but I do think he'll talk about that, national security, and maybe bring some strength to the policy argument. Hey, Nick, if I find out about where this is, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, anytime you have a chance to meet a U.S. senator, you're usually meeting somebody that is really very capable. At least.
Yeah, he's a really, really smart guy. I'm looking forward to meeting him. But if I find anything out, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Oh, we appreciate that.
Hey,
Nick,
See you Monday or Tuesday.
Nick, you mentioned the government doesn't have a place in doing some of this research and everything, but there are some people, and we just kind of alluded to it. That's what Mark Kelly is. That would say that part of the things that your government money to was the space program. So if I'm hearing you correctly, since you're not in favor of us doing it in the space of electric chargers and EVs, you personally would not have been in favor of the space program when the space program was and everything. You would have not wanted government funding, and you would not have wanted NASA and everything like that.
Not this government. The thing is, the space program was funded successfully. We were operating in a whole different government. First of all, we actually had brought our debt to GDP ratio down to the lowest it's been. We had high income tax rates, Mark, 94%. But here's what since then, that is not this government. That was the government that put our men on the moon. This government is extremely broke, 35 trillion in the hole. The GDP debt ratio is over 100%. This government cannot afford a space program, period. The end, as Sasha would say, full stop. Now, who wants to fund it? Well, okay, let's say Tesla and SpaceX want to do it, fine. But that's not what's happening. What really is happening, the U.S. government is funding SpaceX, which is totally wrong. Once again, they're lying to the American people as they're throwing money down the rat hole of huge amounts of debt and huge amounts of deficits that don't need to take place. So until you get your fiscal house in order, the space program has been ended, full stop. Okay, there's no reason to put a man on Mars while people are starving, and we have 73,000 homeless people sitting in LA. There's government function. that needs to be, but this is not a government function. Some
Just,
guy's wild dream of
No,
traveling to
speaking of that,
Mars.
and I was
just to
going
point out,
to
just to point out real quick,
And no, we're
the
not funding
reason
your video games either.
the reason it was a government investment into the space program. The only reason the space program got the investment in the first place was due to the fact of Sputnik. No, it was due to the fact of Sputnik. It was a race to space because we had to beat Russia. That was a big investment. It was all due to war, battle, and everything else because we wanted to be the first in space because we thought it was another battleground. So we invested into the space program. That led to a lot of the stuff that we're using today. Hence the reason we do get paid off based on particular investments. Schools, that is a huge investment that we place in our country, but we haven't invested in schools the way we should have. In terms of the space program now, that is an investment into the future of technology. Suits that they've created, the actual touch panels and all the other things that are there, that technology will hit on places and things that we utilize today, the actual closed communication networks that they utilize. Those are investments that end up paying off in the long run. The problem now that we're having more so than any is actually the semantic and the communication problem. Because we want to play semantics now that we could have played back then that wouldn't have got the space program funded. The only reason the space program again got funded was because it was the idea that we are a nation as one and we're beating out Russia. Russia was our enemy. Sputnik, they sent Sputnik in the air. There could be another area of war. So our country actually bonded together. Now we're not bonding together. We're having arguments over, well, we got poor people on the streets and the government should be, we have billionaires and now almost a trillionaire that can also feed those same hungry people, but we're not asking those trillionaires and billionaires to do that. We're telling the government that, we got to cut all the taxes for those trillionaires so they have money to trickle down that'll help all these people that doesn't work that way. So we got to get back to the idea of investment.
It's amazing how you
speaking of those trillionaires, I was going to get to something that I know Sasha will love and everything, because apparently there is a Russian leader that got some money from one of those billionaires or trillionaires, depending on how much money you think he's got and everything. And the Chechen leader is accusing Elon Musk of remotely disabling his machine gun welding Cybertruck. So apparently he had a Cybertruck that was a gift to him from Elon Musk, and Ramzan Kadyrov, the leader of Russia's Chechen region, is saying, hey, wait a minute, Elon, you stopped my weapon and you stopped it from up in the satellites and everything. So he's accusing Elon Musk of remotely disabling his machine. So maybe that's the way that we can stop the war. We can just have Elon Musk remotely disable all of these.
Well, you don't realize that these companies, and when you're paying for, like BMW has a service that you have to pay for in their auto stuff. All of the companies have that, Tesla included. Tesla actually is a big Elon Musk. If you were to say bad things about Elon Musk when you were in the process of purchasing a Tesla, he would cancel that purchase. That's this freedom of speech guy that people want to praise. They've also bricked Teslas before. Same thing with other companies. If you don't pay these services, or if they want to track, OnStar was that's the big thing about OnStar, can track you wherever you want to go. So these things can happen, and these things, the more technology you have, the more control you've got to worry about this one individual or one company or one group of people has, because of the way the technology is. And this is where the investment comes into play, Nick. We've got to invest in these to be able to at least monitor them, or at least put in some type of regulation, because you don't want an Elon Musk shutting off your car just because he hated what you tweeted.
What a mindset you have, Jacoby. In your brain, giving money to Elon Musk so he can rip the American public off for his SpaceX program and become a multi-billionaire is great. To your idea, give money to Tesla so they can put charging stations so Elon Musk becomes richer is great. It's not an investment. It's corporate welfare to the billionaire class that the Democratic Party and progressives like you support. And I don't support it. And so the thing is, I don't know why you don't see the fact that the money does not go to the American people. The benefits do not go to the American people. Instead, what happens, you're supporting a corporate welfare to the rich, and then you complain about them. I don't know why you complain about them when you're feeding them, Jacoby, and you're buying completely the progressive line. I don't buy that line at all. You know what it is? It's very clear.
I think that what is good for America, what made America great was a competition in every point of business, of life. The more competition there is the better for consumers. They have more choice, they have better prices, and so on. If that's the case, why wouldn't you offer Chinese to sell their electric cars, which are well made, which are very competitive with Tesla? For example, at least in China, Tesla cannot compete with Chinese manufacturers. So if you sell these cars, which will be much cheaper than Tesla and better than Tesla, and as a part of the deal, important though part of the deal, China would have to build 1.5 million charging stations all across America, free of charge to America. Thank you very much, China. We love you. Go and build. Drill, baby, drill. How you say, right? So what's the problem with this plan?
I don't see a problem with it. Right now, the Vietnamese are building EVs in North Carolina, where Jacoby's at. VIN is a big EV company. But again, they're being funded by the Vietnamese government, but not the U.S. government, which is, I'll remind Jacoby, is broke. And the third thing is broke and woke. And how the progressives buy this corporate welfare thing, I just don't get it. There's no reason for corporate welfare. It's not an investment. That's a lie. There's no return on that investment. The American public is not a stockholder in Tesla. We're not a stockholder in SpaceX. We will receive no dividends, Sasha. We'll receive no benefits. Personal benefit will be Elon Musk and his group of cronies. They'll benefit, the people in San Francisco and the cronies, they'll benefit. But the people here that are on this station, people who are listening to us, you will receive zero dividends, zero benefits. All you're going to receive is more debt for your grandchildren, your children, and a worse America for everybody. Thank you. Make America broke again. Thank you, Democratic Party.
Everything you said was incorrect.
No, everything I said was true.
While Sasha was talking about is actually correct. There should be, and this is where the investments come into play, because we want more competition in the market. Hence the reason you have investments.
The U.S. government is not on the East.
One thing that Sasha was pointing out was BYD, which is actually the company that makes those EVs in China. And those EVs in China are the number one. They're the number one EV maker across the globe at the current moment. Their actual EV is maybe on par, if not a little bit right behind Tesla in terms of that mid-range market, which is really the big market. There are also some other ones like Ford and even Dodge is having theirs created right now. The truck and the SUV market is the big push, hence the reason why the Mustang has done well. Rivian is actually starting to begin to come back. I'm not sure, Sasha, you can check their stock. I know it was down for a while, but I think it's starting to come back because it's starting to get a bump due to the fact that that truck and that SUV EV market is big. Chrysler itself, when they're trying to push right now, they own the minivan market with the Chrysler Pacifica. The Pacifica itself has a not an EV, but once they drop an EV, that'll be huge because there is no EV minivan at the moment. And that is a market that hasn't been taken over, and Dodge or Chrysler Dodge has a good chance of taking that over with the great ratings of the Pacifica. However, you still got the heels of Honda, who makes the best minivan, and Toyota, the Sienna, is still a little bit behind. So if those drop in that EV market, But even still, what holds back the EV market, which is where the investments come into play, because it's the future technology. And if we're making investments in future technologies, then that's where the EV market investments come into play. It is that infrastructure that Sasha was pointing out to, which having put in these EV charging stations, just as you have gas stations all throughout the actual place. You can walk 5 minutes and walk into a gas station. You can't do that with a charging station. So if that charging infrastructure gets in there, that is huge for the EV market, and the EV market will jump off and keep going. Another problem with the EV market is AI is coming to play now. AI takes a lot of energy. So if you take AI and the EV market, we have a subpar electric grid. We're not going to be able to take off on that future technologies, which is where we want to be. Because if we fall behind again, so far these future technologies, that means our country itself, when you're talking about China, when they're leading the market in terms of electronics right now with the solar panels and stuff like that. And then if they're able to put up an energy grid that is able to handle the power consumption of the AI technologies, they're already leading again in EVs. If they can take on that AI with their power consumptions, then we're struggling as a country because we will not be able to catch up with AI. So we have to jump on that energy market. And that's where, again, investment comes into play. And where we see as people, those investments that you're talking about are cheaper cars, cheaper energy prices, cheaper food, cheaper, all this stuff that we keep begging to be cheaper. That's what we see.
It's trickled down. I got it. Can I void air Sasha, since he heads up modern investing? And here's my thing. Sasha, you're going to put money into this company, and you're going to put your hard-earned money into this corporation. You're going to borrow money to put it into this corporation. The corporation will issue you no stock. You will get no dividends. However, we believe you'll benefit from it some empirical way. Is that an investment? You get no stock. You get no dividends. You're going to put money into this corporation. Is that an investment?
It's a philanthropy, more or less, but not true.
Oh, a philanthropy.
Here's another question.
It's a contribution. It's a charitable contribution.
Nick,
so please, progressive. This is why you're wrong to rebut. Please call it what it is.
Here's a question to rebut exactly what you just stated.
I will accept that. Oh, by the way, I'll accept that.
Okay, here's a rebuttal.
It is, a charitable contribution.
Here's a rebuttal.
I'm okay with that.
When you use the term investment, okay, if you invest something, is everything that comes out of that investment, is everything monetary?
If I'm investing, yes. It's different than
your terminology.
Charitable.
You're pigeonholing the actual term or use of the term investment to just being around money.
Words, counselor. Words are important.
Words are important. Exactly. So let's look at what the definition of investment is.
Charitable contribution to Elon Musk. I would accept it.
Let's look at what the definition of investment is then. Because if words are important, then the action or process of investing money for profit or material result. So then you're just incorrect when you're saying that the only thing back is money. There's a difference
between a charitable contribution and an investment. And
so
Sasha just pointed it out quite correctly.
Again, you only put part of the definition there. Material result is what we're talking about.
Okay.
In terms
of I don't swallow all
the education. We've got a few more minutes to go and everything, but hey, Nick, along those same lines and everything, you'll have to do some investigation because apparently, speaking of Tesla, the European sales have plummeted 36% in August, which would have been last month. So, and automakers are warning the EV market is now on a continual downward trajectory. So, and I guess that's more in Europe than here. So, it'll be interesting to see how Tesla and the other EVs play out in the worldwide market and everything. And we're going to come off on the holiday season, and this is a slight pivot, but the Affirm CEO says more retailers want buy now, pay later options. So that's a form of investment where because I remember during holiday seasons, you do get a lot of those and everything. So some folks will be willing to do that credit card kind of investment because you'll buy a little bit now and then you'll pay later in those installment plans and everything, because a lot of people are complaining that they don't have enough money to buy.
This is going to be a problem with the interest rate cut. See, Alan Greenspan, who actually did a great job, his thought of the economy, which of course is to build more housing units, because that will actually help the economy. But his thought was we'll lower interest rates and then people will spend less on their homes. Here's what he missed. That's not what happened. When he lowered interest rates, people spent the same amount on their homes. They just bought more home. That was it. So what happens when the interest rates go down, inflation tends to go up because people are naturally economically stupid. They're not going to say, well, now my home was $1,000 a month, now it's only $700 a month. No, instead they're going to spend $1,000 a month and bid up the homes. I mean, and so Alan Greenspan's going, what, don't you want to save money? Not the Americans. They don't save money. They're all in debt. And the whole country's in debt. So they don't even think in terms of savings for some future day. So this interest rate cut may have some adverse consequences, and we'll start seeing more inflation. And I think that's the reason everybody thought it was a quarter point. They're doing a half point, which is big. But we'll see what happens. We may see a backlash of more inflation as people start bidding up. It doesn't produce more goods and services. And that's the same problem with Kamala's $25,000 credit. Now, the only thing she said that was good, which I respect her for, says we're going to build 3 million more housing units. That is good. Okay, she didn't say how she's going to do it, but it doesn't matter. She's heading the right direction. The $25,000 credit will make no difference at all. That's a monetary thing. The 3 million housing units more, that will make a difference. And that's the thing that people need to be serious about.
We've got 3 minutes to go and everything, but just really quickly, what are our thoughts? Because apparently Tom Siebel, one of those corporate types, was saying that AI models are too complex for regulators and new government agencies won't help. But I do know there's some people that want government regulations around AI and everything. So maybe we'll get into this.
Why does everything need to be regulated? AI is like let's go regulate Sasha's computer program. Stockfish needs to be regulated. I mean, this is just thinking. Some new technology comes out, and also we got new regulations. That is complete government stupid thinking.
AI needs to be regulated.
I can't stand it because I had a guy on my board association, my homeworks board, who thought like that. He was a government employee for years. Everything had to be regulated. How big is your grass going to grow? AI does not need to be regulated. We don't
needs to be regulated.
Government in there. It's a waste of time. It's like let's go regulate Stockfish. Let's go regulate chess.com. Let's go regulate lead chess. No, government, keep your nose. Do your job right. You can't even do your job right. Don't try to tell other people how to do their job. This is where I do agree with Shaquille that we are overregulated anyway.
AI needs to be regulated.
Oh, what does it need to be regulated for? It's just a stupid compuper program.
No, it's
if
not.
Anything they need to regulate is your dumb video games, which promote violence.
Before Sasha, if they
want to regulate anything, let's regulate the video game industry, which promotes violence around the world.
It's already regulated.
That needs to be regulated.
The gaming industry is already regulated.
No, it isn't. You guys produce so much trash; it's not funny. Your video games
industry is already regulated.
You need to get rid of those. You want to regulate some? Get rid of those.
The gaming industry is already regulated, though. It's already regulated. It actually even went through lawsuits and everything else. It's already regulated. In terms of AI,
obviously not enough. Because the thing is, you guys still produce trashy video games, and you send them out there.
Honestly,
and now you want to regulate AI. It's just a stupid computer program. Like I said, go look.
It's not just a stupid computer program. AI needs to be regulated.
It does not need to be regulated. If you want to regulate anything, regulate those stupid video games that you guys keep producing.
Do you think that
all those violent video games, get rid of them?
So should
everything has to be regulated, and there's no dollar left?
No. If you believe that AI should not be regulated, and we're just going to take a bland, simple, easy understanding of AI to actually prove the point here, Do you
Sure.
think that governments should be able to utilize AI to create, let's say, a false assassination on another political entity?
That's
assassinating
that's
the other one,
absolutely
utilizing
good
AI.
question.
Should we be able to do that?
That's an absolutely good question, and we'll be answering it next week on the World Edition. We'll see you then, Tony.
See you, man.
From Barcelona. Adios.